Awesome. It is Wednesday, August 27th. I am so excited to go over our second session or masterclass, whatever you want to call it, of Decode Your Symptoms, the Vital Energy series. Today, we are going to talk about energy uprising. Really, in general, we're just going to talk about how our body cycles energy and how we can flow through different ups and downs, resolutions, health expressions, symptoms, whatever you want to call them, that impact us through our meaningful biological adaptations and how that impacts our cellular vitality, our healing, and beyond. So we could call it so many things, and we're going to talk about those, diagnoses, terms, disharmony, dis-ease, dysfunction, those types of things that most people commonly have questions about. But we're going to break it down into how our cellular vitality is impacted and how we can return everything back to homeostasis. So we're going to start with going over a little bit about myself and what allows me to be here in the world and what my passions and what I do. To talk about the biological laws and adaptation. We're going to make a massive health paradigm shift to show you how your fatigue does not mean you're broken, how your lack of energy does not mean you need something from the outside in. We're going to talk about healing with our own light and personal stories of vitality with energy, as well as an easy step-by-step guide to return your cellular vitality and to get back on that shifted paradigm so you can start to revitalize yourself in ways you've probably literally never heard of. And last but not least, I always make sure to make this a very informal, casual, conversational community. So we will save at least 15 minutes at the end for questions. And you are welcome at any point in time to throw questions in the chat I will answer them as I go. If you just want to jot them down in there, throw them in there. And also at the very end, you'll have a chance to unmute yourself or turn your video on, and we can chat personally as well. But most importantly, this video or this recording, this presentation is for informational and educational purposes only. So I am Dr. Kayla. I am a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a chiropractor, and I'm not any of y'all's chiropractor or provider on this call. And so today we may talk about terms in terms of diagnosis, but we're not talking about treating them, diagnosing people, curing them, or preventing any type of medical condition. I advise you to consult with your primary team who you trust to protect you and your sovereignty and to make your wholesome life decisions. So a little bit about me and why I'm so passionate about this. I am a prenatal women's health and pediatric, and as well as an animal chiropractor. I'm like a family chiropractor. I have found my ways through helping individuals in many seasons of life. And I've added into that something I'm also very passionate about from an own personal story of mine with my second child over 4 years ago that led me into the world of the biological laws of nature, which we will talk about in extensive detail today. And that led me to continue on the journey of diving into being a Gemenische Heilkunde or German New Medicine practitioner. I also, for funsies, like to spend a lot of money on college education and waste a lot of time. I say that because I spent a lot of time unlearning to relearn. But I have a master's in nutrition and human performance, as well as a bachelor's in exercise physiology and some other fancy things that come along with that. But basically, I did all of that work to be here to share with you this really life-changing and health paradigm shifting information. My goal is to always guide you to self-healing, and that is the root of who I am. It's not about putting things from the outside in. We're looking at biological adaptation, light, frequency, and the energetic codes of who we are. So let's dive in. The 5 biological laws of nature. I teach a very extensive class on this, so I'm giving you literally the Spark Notes version. It's more than enough to shift your paradigm and for you to understand where we're coming from today. So way back in the 1900s. My children could not believe that I was born in the 1900s the other day when we were talking about it in homeschool. I was like, wow, that's funny. That's an inside joke for me. But yeah, back in the 1900s, Dr. Hammer was a German internal medicine doctor um, who discovered this biological set of laws. And so they are laws, not theories. Have not been disproven, and they occur in any living being, human, animal, or plant, and it impacts impacts us on a psyche, brain, and organ level. So essentially, in short, this German internal medicine doctor discovered that those of his patients who were experiencing the diagnosis of cancer all had a specific conflict or specific event or trauma, if you will, that happened before their onset of symptoms or onset of this presentation of what we call in the Western world the big C. And so, after looking and studying thousands of cases, he determined that each of these conflicts were unique and they aligned with different patterns in organization of how the body organized itself. And so, no matter if you're talking about Eastern medicine, Western medicine, holistic medicine, alternative medicine, physiology never changes. It's simply just applying a set of rules, guidelines, or policies and procedures to physiology, which will always stay tried and true. So, no matter if you're talking about Western medicine, Eastern medicine, which we'll talk about today, the biological laws are still in play. And I say this because you are already attuned to them. Much like you get up in the morning, you don't have to flip on a switch to make sure you don't go flying to the ceiling and your feet stay on the ground. We have the ability to just follow in accordance with nature. So really what we're going to talk about today is not figuring out how to use these laws. It's actually bringing a conscious awareness, connecting it to our brain and our outward experience of how we live and seeing for probably the first time for a lot of people how this has been going on in the background. And we've just been putting other definitions to this box of what our biology's already been doing for us. So today is really a sit back, relax, blow your mind in awareness and conscious shifting because your subconscious already knows. And it's just going to be like a lock and key mechanism, and there's going to be light bulbs everywhere. I promise you it happens every time. So let's go over them in a very short sense. They're super easy. I always love analogies. You'll learn that about me if you're new here. But I like to just make things very simple and direct and easy for us to digest because we don't want to become indigestible. Haha, LOL, funny joke. Uh, You'll get that when we continue on. So the 5 biological laws of nature. First is every symptom has a meaning. So if you've had a headache, you've had indigestion, you've had some type of fever, rash, you name it, every symptom has a meaning. It is essential that we have communication from symptoms. And so we could already start by throwing out the fear of our symptoms out the window because this is a means of our physiology communicating to us. Next is conflicts trigger biological programs or response. So if someone calls me on the phone, I pick it up and I say, hello. If you experience a conflict, your body has to answer to that conflict. So if you experience a potential trauma and almost getting into a car accident, someone saying something to you that feels like a verbal attack, your physiology has to say hello and give some type of response back to the body. And that is the conversation that happens. So we have conflict, we have response, or we call that conflict activity. The activity is the conversation between the physiology and how our body is responding and bringing all of these emergent helpers to the scene, first responders, if you will, to help us calm down and find resolution. And most of us know that as sympathetic fight or flight, right? If someone says something to you and you want to punch them in the face, that is a sympathetic response. If someone goes through it, experiences a trauma, and they can't sleep after it, that is the body's sympathetic response. So biological law number 3 is healing follows conflict resolution. Once you find a solution, once your body's able to be at ease, and you maybe change your perspective, you have a different viewpoint of it, maybe you realize, oh, thank goodness I didn't get into that car accident, I was able to avoid it. Deep breath, everything's great, woosah, you're going to go into a resolution. So that is law 3. Then law 4, which will always throw everybody off their rockers, so hold on tight to your seat, is microbes assist in repair. We live in a society that we're just all terrified of germs, but we need them. We literally cannot survive without them. We cannot heal without them. And so this is the first time you may be hearing this, and it is life-changing because now we're no longer afraid of someone throwing up next to us. We know that their body needed those microbes to get something out, and it's a meaningful biological adaptation for our survival. And last but not least is number 5, each program has a predictable pattern. So we always love organization in science. We love how, we could have a double-blind placebo-controlled study that shows us all of these things and it's very monitored and very orderly. Well, our physiology has the same. So if I'm running a separation program and I have a skin rash and you're running a separation program, you also have a skin rash if it occurs in your skin. And that rash may look a little bit different, but how it's going to heal, the microbes that are going to be there, and how your body physiologically responds is going to be in a predictable way. So this gives us a code, if you will, not Morse code, a little bit cooler than Morse code, a physiological code so your body can say, hey, I know exactly what this is, I'm taking care of it, and you now have conscious awareness to say, oh my gosh, this is exactly what's happening. I don't have to fear my body in a healing state. I could feel my way through it. And so I know I dropped a lot of laws on you, but they're very simple. We're going to talk about how this occurs when our energy shifts. So if you tuned in 2 weeks ago and we talked about weight management, weight loss, weight retention, water retention, changing hormones and gaining weight at different life periods of our lives, especially for women, this is a even broader spectrum because when we're talking about energy, we have to go to a cellular level. So, right, we have every cell is like a tiny battery. We have energy in our cells. It's like gasoline in a car, if you will. We have something called mitochondria. These mitochondria produce something called ATP. It's like the little runners in the cell that are constantly creating that energy so that they could all work together and communicate together. And if you're a really big, quantum research, I'll say addict, like I am, not just I'm a guru, an addict, obsessive compulsive, you know that light, sound, frequency, those are all things that we are made of. And we're going to talk about that. But the essential component is the battery. We have to have this communication via light, via sound, via frequency, vibration that helps us produce energy and helps us stay connected. If you unplug something from the wall, you're not connected anymore. You're not tapped into that vital force energy. And so we also have something that helps with the energy and vitality, and that's water and minerals. That's like the electrical charge. That's the pathway, if you will. That's the energy highway that we work on. We have to have those things to fuel ourselves up. We can't just have one. Then we have the nervous system. The nervous system is what actually allows us to conserve and release that energy. So it's essentially like a gate. So we have this pool of water. The pool is the little cell battery. Then we have all of the ingredients in the pool. And then we have these gates that open and close. And why am I giving you a K through 12 energy cellular lesson? It's because that's how it always will function. It's never, ever going to change. The only thing that's going to change is what we talked about one slide ago, is how your body has a conflict and then it responds. So I don't care what diagnosis, disease, dysfunction, disharmony that you have going on right now, if your body is on the gas, it's meaningful and necessary for your body to respond in either a response situation or a relaxed healing situation. If it's on the break, the same thing applies. So it's no longer about not having enough energy. It's that your body is in a specific, necessary, and meaningful adaptation to what healing cycle you're going through. So I know it could be a little bit confusing, so we're going to keep on going. So the common thing here is fatigue. Everybody talks about chronic fatigue and everybody drinks their little like orange juice adrenal cocktails, which are delicious, by the way. They have things like minerals and vitamins and those things that go into the pool. But I'll be honest, you can't outdrink your fatigue with an adrenal cocktail. I'm sorry, it's true. You have to have resolution of adaptation first. And there are ways that by drinking those, you can shift yourself into that resolution, but it is not going to be the solution. When we have fatigue, we are in a adaptation stage, meaning that our body either requires more rest and is not getting it, or we're not allowing ourselves to actually look into, right, subconscious meets the conscious to look into the experience that our body's trying to communicate to us. So we have common things. I hate the word triggers, but it was necessary for using it here, everybody that knows me. I hate the word trigger. But common triggers that we typically can pick up on, it's the proper use of this word, would be overwhelm. I can't keep up. So our body doesn't keep this information from us. It tells us really loudly. And when we hear people talk and we hear them talk about their symptoms, or we hear them complain and you hear yourself complain, these are some common programs that we could look into that may point to, hey, you are in this part of this program. You are in this part of this healing cycle. So overwhelm would be, I can't keep up. We get everything from thyroid programs, right? Too slow to catch the morsel, too fast to catch the morsel. Thanks. Dr. Ashley said triggered by the word triggers. Yeah, same. Same. We could have separation conflicts, which I talked about, which occur in the skin. This could lead to poor sleep because our body is responding and bringing more information. You cannot respond if you are asleep. So if your body's needing to ramp up energy for healing and you're not sleeping well, it's because your body is doing a necessary biological adaptation for your survival and your optimization and vitality. We talked about this next one 2 weeks ago, the kidney collecting tubules. That was, we talked about water and weight retention, that fish out of water, that high inflammation, constantly gaining weight. Feeling like you could exercise yourself however much you want and you don't lose weight, the puffiness, the face, the lipedema, those types of things. That leads, of course, to swelling, and that could lead to heaviness, right? If we're holding on to more water weight and our body's not able to filter, what happens then? Energy's not going to be flowing at a necessary and vital rate for your body to keep up and to overcompensate those things. We have to find a solution so we can return our body back to normal energy cycles. And then I saved the best one for last, adrenal exhaustion. We talk about it all the time. I'm guilty. When I was in chiropractic school, I swore I had adrenal fatigue the whole time. Um, yes, I was doing too much, but I also was running dozens of conflicts, right? Because it is stressful. Life is stressful, and we are all running conflicts and we're all adapting. And we have to understand that there are specific adrenal programs. However, exhaustion as a whole and stress as a whole only exacerbates our programs, whether we're in a healing phase, we're in a conflict active phase, looking for healing. And that's why I saved this just to adaptation. Because if we could grasp in our brain that if we don't have enough energy, we're adapting. If we have too much energy and we are upwardly regulated, like with hyperactivity or hyperfocus or OCD type things, right? We have these high functioning, we can't slow down, can't rest, the insomnia parts. It's also an adaptation program. So rather than boring you with a very in-depth scientific, research-based physiological talk tonight, I want to go over what that actually means and how our body can go back and forth and fluctuate from brain fog to focus. Because anybody who has, majority of the time, not enough energy also can feel the focus issues, feels the brain fog, can't keep up, and can't do the normal activities of daily living. And that's really what I want to talk about today, because we can go into things like the thyroid and the adrenals and the kidneys and the hormones. We could talk about all of that. But instead, I want to talk about it as a whole because it's all working together. And it really doesn't matter which conflict you're running right now for this presentation. We have to shift the perspective and find resolution no matter which one of those unique conflicts you're running. So if we look at brain fog and focus issues, brain fog, again, it's not random. It's a protective slowing. If you are not able to keep up with the energy demand in order for you to heal, your body will slow you down. And so the brain essentially temporarily dials down that processing to keep you safe. Essential. Survival's always the key. We have to think primitive. We live in a very modern world, but we are still primitive beings. We are still hunter-gatherers, fight or flight. We still belong in nature, despite what any social media will tell you or any fancy thing that you can do out in the world. We still live in rhythms and cycles and respond just like animals and plants in nature. So this healing phase is most likely this mental tiredness, and your brain is actually utilizing and conserving that energy for itself to restore those connections. So if we have too much to process, we need to slow down for this protection. If we're on emotional overload, this is where my chiropractor expertise comes in. You get nervous system freeze. So I'll go on a little sidebar here, and the amount of children in my office, babies especially, that are in nervous system freeze states. It's not because they've lived 20 years and they've worked a hard 9 to 5 job and they're stressed out and they went to college. It's because we live in community. And so this goes to show even animals, same thing. You will see animals and small children mirror their owners or their parents when there's a high stress emotional overload because the nervous system cannot process. So we're not just talking about adrenal fatigue here because you've worked really hard and you don't get sleep and you have to make money and pay bills because that's the cycle we live on. This occurs in everybody, no matter their job, their educational status, or if they own a house or not. You could be an infant and be in chronic nervous system freeze because your body is in an adaptive state of healing. So let's talk about this in terms of adrenal cycles and sleep. We know during conflict activity, we are hyper alert. So let's talk about this response phase. So we had a conflict happen. Now we're in the response phase. This is typically when we see people who have insomnia, because if you haven't figured out a resolution to it, think of yourself as like, I don't know, an engineer and a bridge just went down and you have to figure out how it happened, right? Or you have some big type of situation you have to figure out. You are not sleeping. You are on auto response, first responder. Everything's going in to figure out what in the world just happened to you. And that's when sleep cycles and adrenal cycles are always going to be wonky. Not because it's directly because of the adrenals, but it's because sleep and our body regulation is essential for us to heal. When we're in the healing phase, when we find that resolution, we go into deep fatigue. Most of the time on that first upswing of healing, when you have the most symptoms, when you want excessive sleep because your body's conserving all of that energy to shift into that full resolution. And if we go in and out of this, which most of us commonly are going to be in this hanging healing phase, you're going to go to work during the week 9 to 5, be super stressed out, but be hyper alert because you have a high functioning job. You have to be there. You have to put the pedal to the metal. And then you come home on the weekends and you sleep all weekend. And you complain all day long that you don't have energy. This is that chronic loop. That's that burnout that I think everybody in my profession always gets. I had it because we are wired but tired. It's this back and forth situation that I've heard all along in my profession and for people around me and patients of mine as well. So let's talk about this in a just an easeful nervous system physiological state. It's not that we have to regulate our nervous systems, everyone. I will stand on this soapbox even as a chiropractor. You can't just regulate your nervous system if you have dysfunctional and meaningful adaptations that are taking place. So you can't adjust the nervous system out of this chronic nervous system dysfunction because it's essential. It is essential for your body to be in a sympathetic flight or a parasympathetic rest and digest because that's the necessary time it needs. We can't just switch in and out of these things and resolve these things quickly. And this is why many people get stuck in this alert mode because they think they could take something from the outside and put their body in a fancy parasympathetic response. And then they wonder why when they go back to work or they go back into these different experiences, their sleep turns into a different way. They feel maybe light, they may feel this unrefreshing, and they feel like this stuck mode. Like, well, I did do better for a little bit, but it's not actually sticking. And this is the common thing that I always hear is, well, it changed for a little bit, but it never fully resolved. And that is the key. Because the whole key to this is simply taking a conflict and shifting it. Shifting yourself out of that. Because when you shift your perspective out of it, the nervous system has to shift into parasympathetic mode because that's how physiology is wired. So this is why conventional approaches always fall short in these situations because I shared this last week. I will have this on literally every slide of every presentation for the rest of the year. Safety is essential. We talk about nervous system safety all the time. Well, just get safe. Just get safe. Feel safe. Say to yourself, I am safe. If it worked that way, we wouldn't be on this call tonight trying to figure this out. Essential safety is how our subconscious and subconscious nervous system is wired, respective of the programs we're running. So we have to be able to be involved in our lives instead of looking an outside view and trying to fix something from the outside. So once you find that safety, from that conflict that happened, your body goes into repair, it will go into release, or restoration or homeostasis or rebalancing or back to normal tone, and your energy actually will stay sustained back at a normal pace. So let's talk about what actually, does work and doesn't work. Energy is not about more caffeine. I think that might be obvious for most people on here. Forcing workouts, pushing through fatigue, which I think we've moved through that trend. That was more of like 5 years ago, when like we all had to be boss babes and push through all of that and get ourselves back on the horse. Now we're in that kind of like that other big, massive swing of extreme. We're looking at how do we restore energy. And that's why I think this was probably one of my favorite ones I'm going to do out of all this series, because it impacts every single one that we're also going to talk about. We have to resolve these conflicts. We have to allow the cells to recharge, and therefore the nervous system will rebalance. And you can't have one without the other. This is not an either or situation. Your body is programmed, wired, created. It has mechanistic engineering built into it. Its innate intelligence tells us that once you resolve a conflict, those cells recharge and the nervous system becomes rebalanced. You can't interchange them or try to do one without the other. So let's shift into how we're going to enhance this vital life force energy, because this is something that I'm super passionate about, and the whole reason why I have shown up for the past almost 2 years talking about this with so many people, and what completely changed my life out of the burnout, because I was looking for something that honored what was already inside of me. Yeah, like Anisha said, our body is brilliant. Absolutely. I have always I've chosen to always die on that hill, that I really believe we were truly created with everything inside of us. And yes, there are times that we need emergent situations, and we have the tools and the technology to do that. And I'm 100% for that. I've utilized them to my benefit and for my children. But in a general sense of what our body is adapting to, if we have this intelligence and this conscious awareness, our vital life force energy is the key to tapping into the holy grail of self-healing. So let's talk about the light that lives inside of us. I mentioned in the beginning, but we are beings of light, frequency, and energy. The cell communicates. There's so much beautiful published research coming out, which I'm going to share over the next couple of weeks, of just how much the quantum world is finally being revealed to us in ways we knew it was before, but it's actually becoming a front runner in how we're looking at our quantum biology, and not just how our thoughts and our emotions shape our world, but how it actually, right, but actually how it weaves together in such a harmonious way with all of the worlds of quote unquote medicine. So, and I say quote unquote medicine, whatever type of medicine you want, Eastern, Western, quantum, frequency, sound, all the fancy things. So we know that the human body emits and absorbs light, which we know is essential for cellular communication. We are light beings. We emit infrared light. We are able to communicate via light. If you have nighttime or heat-seeking goggles, you get thermography done. You could see inflammation via light. And again, we're not treating anything with light. We are light. This is how our body, again, takes energy and upregulates it or downregulates it and allows our body to move along that adaptive pathway. So if we're not treating it, we have the ability to activate our own repair and energy production. And this is something that we're going to really hit home on, and this is vital life force energy, because it is essential. If I don't have enough gas in my tank, there's no way I'm going to even get home, let alone get even further that I want to, right? So if we don't have enough vital energy in our system, for our system to be able to have a thought about finding a resolution, because we're stressed, because we put the pedal to the metal, because we don't think about our thoughts, we don't look at our environment, we just try to shove that conflict, what happened, away, because that's what our body will do. It will protect us for our survival. If we don't address that, then the life force energy continues to deplete itself over and over. And so what if we took this light that is inside of us and shines outward, and we just redirected it back inside, and basically had this natural feedback loop of our own light becoming its own generator or life force energy to help us find peak vitality? Well, it happened. I didn't create it. So sad. I wish I did. But David Schmidt created it 20 years ago and found a way to utilize our own body's light to be a generator for our own life force energy. And again, not treating anything, we're taking something as simple as this patch which is made of organic materials, no ingredients, stabilized water, stabilized oxygen, amino acids, a little organic cotton pad, and we stick it to our body. I just peeled this off my leg, everybody, if you wanted to know, because I forgot the one that was sitting on the counter. So it's a used one. Been wearing it all day. We take this, we stick it to ourselves for 12 hours, and our body emits this light. The light is captured by these little organic crystal molecules in there that refracts the light back into our body, and voila, we get more life force energy. So imagine if you had a gas tank that was full and then you had an entire massive gas well that you could put on the back of your trailer, you could literally drive 2,000 miles, right? It's not just I have to stop every time I want to heal something and keep going. It's that your body's intelligent and it has an essentially an really, really bottomless pit, I should say, of light to tap into, which shifts our own cellular vitality. It allows our body to become its own energy source. So I say they're non-transdermal because that's something that's important to me and was important to me when I found out about these over 2 years ago. Non-transdermal meaning that nothing's going into the skin. So we're not putting vitamins in our skin. We're not putting anything in our bodies. We're simply taking these, sticking them on, and our body's doing the work. The light is regenerating. Depending on which patch you're going to wear, we'll talk about the patch itself helps reflect a certain ingredient or recipe list that your body can now take as a patented technology and make its own vital resource of that biological variant that your body may need more utilization of. So your own light activates these pathways like GHK copper peptide, which we're going to talk about, which can help us reduce stress and help see a resolution more clearly, can help us optimize and clear out the areas that have been stuck if we've been in a hanging healing, and help age reverse, repair, optimize our metabolism, and overall optimize our vital energy. So we have patches, we have light signaling that happens, then we move to cellular activation because our body now can find resolution. It has more optimum tools in the bag to look for it. It finds the resolution, and then you have restoration and homeostasis. So just a quick slide to go over this. Again, no ingredients. There's no side effects, contraindications. We're not putting anything inside our body. There's no issue with interactions of medications. I don't care what supplements or medications you're taking. There's nothing going into your body. It's simply your own light. Again, stabilized water, stabilized oxygen, sugars, amino acid. Your body's able to utilize this via your own light, reflect it back in. There's over 90 clinical studies, 130 patents, over 20 years of these being on the market, who were created by David Schmidt for the Navy SEALs to optimize their vitality, to lengthen their telomeres, to give them more optimum function on the job at protecting our country. So let's talk about GHA copper peptide because that is the X39 patch, which we will talk about. And the X39 patch allows us to tap into the holy grail of healing via our own light. Via our own light, the X39 patch allows your body to optimize and produce its own determined amount of GHK copper peptide. GHK copper peptide is known, if you look on the research in the medical world, 33 plus pages of medical research on the powers of GHK copper peptide. But here's the difference. We're not injecting it. We're creating it. Homemade is always better than eating out, always. So we have lung protection, hair, skin, and nails, fast-growing cells, brain and nervous system, antioxidant power, and we know GHK activates stem cells. And if you don't know, now you will. Stem cells, I really sound Southern. Oh my gosh. Stem cells. I've been here too long, everybody. It's been 10 years. Stem cells are essential to helping rebuild tissue and restore vital function and life force energy to any part of our body. And I just read this really cool study yesterday that shows, I'll focus on it in 2 weeks, but I can't stop sharing about it, but it shares that we actually can grow new brain tissue in our 70s to restore mood, memory, clarity, focus, and overall energy. Hello. Like that's so cool. They're finding it. This Swedish study found several individuals well in the generation of 60s, 70s, and 80s that were actually having abundant healing. Yeah, that's what we're here for. So let's scroll through this. We have Lynn, just some testimonials from people who have patched and optimized. We could see these laundry lists of what their symptoms are, but overall, after 1 week, more energy. Yeah, because you have more vital life force energy, and now your body can take and do what it has intelligence and it's wired to do, and its priority list of healing. So for these individuals, her sense of smell was previously diminished. After 2 weeks, her sense of smell improved. Her hot flashes, night sweats have completely stopped. It's not about specific symptoms. It's about having vital energy so your body can reconnect, rewire, and have vital optimization of healing and shift into that abundance of cellular vitality. Teresa here, fatty liver, um, some pain, losing hair, had no energy. Then she went from that to no pain, inflammation has gone down, hair isn't coming out anymore, energy is back, no longer needing a nap, and more mental focus. Because energy is essential. It's who we are in every single program. We need vital energy. Tracy, she has more energy every day. Hot flashes stop, skin changes, blood sugar has changed, skin swollen tightness in her ankles has changed. She has heartburn and indigestion. There's the indigestion inside joke I made. She can now have better digestion. She could process things better, right? And feeling grateful and renewed and having energy and vitality. Next, we have Walter, more energy, physically stronger, can swim further, deep sleeper, and now is actually dreaming, which is some of like the best shifts and changes that can happen when our energy vitality shifts. Then we have Pam. Love a Pam. Consistent energy throughout the day, 5 months before she felt anything. So let's talk about this for a second, because I love talking about people who say, oh, I didn't feel anything. Because if you just filled up your gas tank today and it's not been filled up for 30 years, it's going to take some time to have consistent energy. We're going to respond finally, but how are we going to be able to regulate that? Regulation doesn't happen overnight, everybody, because if it did, we would be superhuman and not talking about this conversation right now. Our body can start to have this little giddy up and keep going when we have consistent vital life force energy. And that's when our body has organizational tactics and tools and important reminders and communicators to us that there is shifts and changes going on. We just may not feel them yet because there's something deeper under the surface that is needing repaired. And most of the time, that is energy. So I want to make sure we get to questions. So I'm not trying to rush this, but I want to respect everybody's time. So I always love to share an easy step-by-step way that you can tap into this vitality. So I want to talk about what this slide even means, because we talked about X39, but I want to give you an analogy. If I'm trying to dig a hole, like we're going to make a man-made lake here. I don't know why this is analogies coming to my mind, but we're building a man-made lake. If I start building with or digging with one shovel with one person in the center of the deepest part of the lake that I want to be dug, and I'm giving it vital life force energy and digging it out, it's going to take me a long time, majority of the time, to dig out that entire well or lake. If I had a lot of people with a lot of shovels and put them and spread them evenly throughout this circle of this lake I wanted to dig out, I would be adding vital life force energy in different areas of my body in different symptoms and having optimization more abundantly. That analogy is exactly what I'm talking about here. We are not treating symptoms. We are not resolving specific programs. We are giving our body an opportunity to have pure vitality and vital life force energy so that our body can return to vital function however it wants to. So if I have X39, that patch we know activates our body's, utilizing our body's light, activates the GHK copter peptide, which we know activates stem cells, can work in pain, inflammation, those types of areas. It's everywhere in the body. Then we have Eon. Eon is the patch that helps our body return to normal parasympathetic balance. So if we are constantly in sympathetic mode, we are helping find more areas in space in our brain, our conscious thoughts, our mood, our stress. We call it the happy patch. It helps find clarity, especially if you are someone who's going through a program that you have constant repetitive thinking, or you feel like you have this upregulation of overthinking anxiety, or this depleted state of depression. So it also works systemically, right? So we're talking about anti-inflammatory, anti-stress, mood, happy patch. That would be great to also have, right? A little bit of help while you're digging through that healing cycle. Then we have carnosine, which works on the heart, the brain, the organ tissue. This is great for cellular communication, but also it works on organs such as the pancreas, such as blood pressure, looking at cognitive function in terms of how our brain functions and that focus of our brains. It's great for any type of first aid type response to lumps, bumps, bruises. This is like my kid's favorite patch is carnosine. It's like, oh, I got a bruise, let me put a carnosine patch on it. I go through probably way more carnosine than anybody humanly possible. Like LifeWave loves me because I buy so many carnosine packs. But my kids, they adore it. Alavita, this is great for regulating circadian rhythm, helping provide vitality to restore that vital cellular function. Hair, skin, and nails, sleep, hormones, cortisol, you name it, this patch, Alavita is amazing. And then we have glutathione. Most people have heard of glutathione. This can help in the more of like the Eastern, Western holistic terms, detoxify, boost the immune system. But really overall, it's just an essential nutrient that our body needs for a lot of healing cycles. And if we have it in abundance, we're able to utilize more of it. Or if we have access to making more of it, then we're going to optimize on that for our vital life force energy. So this is a broad spectrum approach to no matter what your diagnosis disease experience is. Again, we're not treating anything. We're looking at how we can optimize the system utilizing our own light as a regenerative force. And so if we were to look at the step-by-step guide, this is something that literally anybody can start on. It's an easy protocol for everybody. We would start off with X39 daily. We would add in Eon daily after a few days. After a few days of that, we would add on Alavita, and that's a nighttime patch. You'd wear that at night, 5 nights a week. After a couple weeks, you're going to add on carnosine, and that's just 2 to 3 days a week. And then also after a few weeks after that, you're going to add on glutathione 2 to 3 days a week. This is not a jumping all-in situation. It's a slow, adaptive. Let's enter some more helpers into the room of our vitality. And of course, if you choose to opt into this today, we have an entire education portal that walks this through with you. If you have a health tracker, there's a support group that comes along with it. So you're not going to be left out. And I say that because the whole reason I'm here and there's people on this call is we've all experienced this. We've all been in community. We've all found support in each other. We all show up to ask questions, to experience this together, to celebrate together. And this is something that I have patched hundreds of patients of mine, dozens of people in my family, so many people in my community, and this is something unlike I've ever seen before. All of my clients through my online virtual space have opted in and added these to not treat anything, but to find and reconnect a vital life force energy, which is equivalent, I think, and I know Anisha will respond to this and agree because we talked about it last night, equivalent to like laying in the grass. And just finding peace and being out on a beach if you can't be at a beach all the time. It is tapping yourself into something that we've never experienced before. And that is the number one thing that everybody has said to me, even if they can't put words to it. I don't know what I'm feeling, but I know I feel plugged in or different, or something about me just feels more abundant or more vital. And that's the whole reason why I show up here and I'm sharing. You could get this easy kit for $295. Most of the time, we get this kit for $295. We put you on X39 once a month for $99. So this is a one-time fee of $295, $99 a month for X39, and you get to continue and we get to add more and customize things. But this is a very great way to start to opt in to Vitality. If you're someone like me who wants to commit to something and wants to go full into it, and you want peak vitality and you don't want to just try it out, I highly recommend this is the best price that you're going to get. You're going to get several weeks and months of these support patches, 1 month of X39 with the same X39 once a month for $99. So one time of $535. Same support, same system. Everybody who patches with us gets the same exact support. Access to me through our private Telegram support group. Access to those who invited you here. You're welcome to share with friends and family. You also get to add on a couple more support packs with this bigger pack. So it's not just these that are there. You get one or two more support packs depending on which one that you choose. So just as I finish up here before we get some questions and be able to get to the questions in the chat section, this is what to expect. And I tell everybody straightforward, I'm a transparent, like heart on my sleeve type of girl. Do this for 1 year. And you're like, okay, you sound super crazy. Why would I do this one for 1 year? Well, for the reasons that I shared here today, if you do anything for a year, you're going to see a change. But if you have vital life force energy for a year, your life is going to massively transform because your body has the time, consistency, energy and effort to shift things in a way it never had to before. So what research shows, what we see here within the first few days of wearing these patches, 4,000 genes are going to begin to reset. You're activating that army, you're bringing in more helpers, you get more people with shovels to help dig out that man-made well. We have 4 weeks of doing that. We now have an activated army. You may not feel anything yet, but we know it's happening. We know at the peak core level of what our body's doing, it's being repaired. It's actually maybe not in a felt experience sense yet, because most of our body is actually not motor sensory or felt senses. It actually just does what it does. You breathe, you digest food, you don't have these awarenesses of things unless your body's responding and adapting meaningfully. Then we have within 6 weeks, the brain becomes more balanced, things like memory, depression, sleep. We know the brain becomes regulated. Within 3 months, collagen is increased. This is when people in my practice have said they've canceled procedures for replacements. They've on hips, knees, shoulder situations, they have long-term things that are helping provide more energy and vitality for resolution and for healing. And then we have 6 months, which is my favorite. The cardiovascular system changes occur. For every day you wear the patch, your cardiovascular system metabolically age reverses a day and a third younger. Like, hello, it is tapping into something that we don't have access to before. And this is why you've most likely never heard of this. And why it is mind-blowing, because when you do that for 12 months, you have massive shifts. And I'll just share for a second, I'm over 2 years into wearing this. I still wear X39, X49 daily, Eon as well, and I shuffle carnosine and glutathione throughout the week. I just ripped off an energy enhancer that was that tan patch. I'm going through healing cycles all the time because I'm human and I'm not ever going to be without conflict, right? Conflicts happen when we don't know they're going to happen. They're completely unexpected. They knock us off their feet. We have that happen to us all the time. So I'd rather be plugged into something and have an abundance of vitality to tap into instead of trying to catch up to it and pour it in later. So within 12 months, honestly, before that and way sooner than that, but with 12 months, you're going to see long-term experiences completely shifting, and not just things in terms of your health and vitality, but just in your overall well-being. I say this all the time to people, and I mean it. I will never stop wearing these. Ever, ever, ever. It's essential. I put them on when I brush my teeth. So I'm never going to stop brushing my teeth. So I'm never going to stop wearing these. And they've shifted so many things for me in my life and for my children and my animals, and patients of mine, that it is truly something that you should just completely give a radical try to. You have no idea what it's going to do. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced before. Something that I always like to share too, and I want to make sure I get this in there, is we talked about these foundations. We talked about cellular vitality. We know that high quality water is essential. We talked about the water and minerals. So mineral salts come from real mineral salt, not sodium, not Morton salt. Get rid of the girl in the yellow dress. Get salt, that is Redmond's real salt, Baja Gold salt. Eat as much as you want of it. It's essential. We need it. Salt your food to taste. Put it in your water. Eat some dark chocolate, everybody. 70% cacao and above every single day. I know all my chocolate girlies on here, we eat way more than our natural amount of chocolate, but it's essential, everybody. It is essential. If you do that, you're going to have an abundance of copper in your body to activate that GHK copper peptide, to have the ingredients to make the healing recipe your body needs. And then cell salts. This slide will be up. You could pause on the replay later to watch it, take a screenshot if you want to now. But cell salts, there's 12 tissue salts that are essential and vital to our well-being. Majority of the time, if we don't have them, we can't synthesize vitamins or any other thing that we put in from the outside the body or we take from our food. So this is an essential way to start off at looking at these things, maybe looking at areas of your life you want to add more vitality to. Try a couple of them out. Find them on Amazon. Boiron's typically the company most people get. Nature's Best Made Products. There's a couple of different ones. If you need a link, let me know. I will send you one so that you can find it. They're easy to find, but it wouldn't hurt to add these into your overall well-being routine to help optimize your body as you're restoring these foundations. So before I take questions, please give a virtual hug and a kiss to people who invited you here tonight, because it was mind-blowing. It always will be, because I will never stop talking about how powerful this information is for people to tap into the parts of themselves they've most likely been told is impossible for them to heal or restore or return to vital function. So thank the person who invited you here. If you want to get started with that Vibrant Health and Vitality Kit, connect with that person. They're all connected to me in some way, shape, or form. That's why they invited you here. And I will help answer those questions for you that you may have personally, or we have a wonderful time to be able to do that now. So does anybody have any questions that you want to unmute yourself and ask while I'm combing through this chat, which is so active, and I'm so grateful for my co-hosts. Thank you both. Anyone? Anyone? Sloan, do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Hi. Hey, everyone. Hi,
Okay.
Dr. Kayla. So I have a question about bladder.
Mhm.
So if you start to have like pain like in the bladder area, or you feel like the bladder is kind of acting up a bit, what patch would you, I know X39, but what patch would be really good to kind of help with that going on?
Yeah, I actually just went through this 2 weeks ago. So, from my personal experience, I went through a bladder resolution actually 2 weeks ago, which was super interesting because I had not been aware of a bladder situation. So again, things can just come on, your body goes into resolution, it's intelligent. So I actually had X39, Eon, carnosine, and then I used LifeWave. And again, I don't think there's a wrong way to go about it. But I typically do wear almost every patch throughout the week at some point, but I was very hyper focused on X39, Eon, and carnosine. But also to throw it out there, I do wear X49 below my belly every single day throughout the day. So, I mean, that is also on there, but not specifically or exclusively for the bladder, if you will.
Okay, and one last question. So when I had that in undigestible morsel that I moved through, why is Ice Wave so powerful to use? Like even through, chatting up the protocol, right? They said to use it on the belly, on the either side of the belly, right? So why is that with Ice Wave? Like what is it that it's really working with?
So, LifeWave and Energy Enhancer do not work off of peptides or biological variants. They're the two patch system. So, for people who don't know, like I took off Energy Enhancer, it's equivalent to a two patch system like LifeWave. You get a white patch and you get a tan patch. So, X39, Energy Enhancer and LifeWave work off of polarity. So, they work off of essentially the poles of the body. So, think magnets, positive, negative. And so that's why I think, yes, like Ice Wave for pain, but also LifeWave has put out negative energy as well. And I think, I mean, there's a lot of positivity to the negative energy benefits of it because it helps, I think, just cycle those energies through the body. I wear energy enhancer on my inside of my ankles almost every single day. And I find we know that that balances individuals and provides more muscle stability and prevents them from slips and falls. And I think energy or Ice Wave works very similarly, especially when you pair it in a location like your belly or you put it on an acupressure point specific for that. It's just basically, I think, cycling chi, right? Cycling that chi energy, helping restore function there. Because I know sometimes energy enhancer is also good to utilize for like stomach aches and those types of things. But I have utilized Ice Wave when I didn't have it, and yes, it does also work. And also too, we know Ice Wave can help with range of motion and not just pain also. So I think it just speaks to actually the energy flow rather than, and pain is trapped energy. Any type of cellular restoration has some type of trapped energy as well. You have cells that are being regrown, then you have cells that are dying off and waste removal. So I think it just helps with that momentum of energy, if you will. That would be my guess. I didn't create them, but if from what I've experienced myself, that would be my speculation.
No, thanks. I mean, because it was
Yeah.
just interesting. And when I was moving through that whole thing, which was quite overwhelming, and I had a lot of pain in my gut, like in through the central nervous digestion area, but the ice wave did help. So I was just like curious because I was like, oh, it's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Anybody else? Beautiful. I think I went through the comments. Anisha, I love it. I love all of, I agree wholeheartedly. I agree. Perfect. Anybody else have any questions? Awesome. Well, I'm going to put my email in the chat, so that everybody can have it. Hello at drkaylaabide.love, not .com, .love. If you have any questions that come up or you want any personalized things that you want to share with me that you may have not been comfortable to share on this recording, feel free to reach out to those individuals who connected you here so you could get those Vital Life Force energy patches ordered if that's something that you want to do. And we will be back here in 2 weeks going over more focused on the neurocognitive aspect of energy, clearing the fog, but not just brain fog, like the actual long-term function of how when our body is in these long-term phases of healing, going a little bit more in depth and what that looks like for neurocognitive outcomes. It doesn't have to be in a sense of diagnosis, but just in having this long-term fog, how do we clear it? What does that look like? We're just going to go a little bit deeper so that everybody can have and cover the spectrum of the nervous system depending on age, generation, ability, skill, and those types of things. And my love, what do you have to share?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. The recording will be posted within 24 hours, I promise. And you'll be able to catch it and send to everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm so grateful for all of you, and I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.